Consider your mouth, a marvel of evolution, an indispensable part of life itself. Without it, we can't eat, drink, breathe, or even share stories. But go back in time, let's say 10,000 years ago. Imagine grappling with a crippling toothache. What would you do? Dentistry, as we know it, has come a really long way, with its origins going back as far as when the woolly mammoths were still walking on Earth. Let's take a look and see how we got here. So let's go back. No, even further than that. Even further than that still. Yeah, that's it. The earliest dental hygiene, believe it or not, actually comes from the Neanderthals. We found teeth from 130,000 years ago in modern day Croatia. These bear the marks of the first examples of dental hygiene. Now, it's not quite Listerine and electric toothbrush, but more the humble toothpick. Clearly, getting things stuck between your teeth is a tale as old as time itself. But let's get into where science first began. And that's where civilization itself began. It comes from the Indus Valley civilization in South Asia, some 7,500 to 9,000 years ago. In Meergar, Pakistan, we find these 11 drilled crowns. This is fairly impressive. It was accomplished using the bow drill method, which is what you're seeing on screen now. Imagine the sensation of a string-powered drill drilling into your teeth without anesthetic. Must have gotten pretty bad if you're willing to let someone in your mouth armed with a bow. Meanwhile, in Mesopotamia, the Sumerians were coming up with some strange diagnosis of tooth cavities. Teeth worms. Like actual little worms that ate into your teeth. This could be cured in two ways. The first way, and most importantly, praying to your sky god, Anu. And the second way is by heating up metal, holding it in your mouth with seeds on the end, and it smokes the critters out. That's literally the modern equivalent of smoking a cigarette and saying thoughts and prayers. Now, this won't be the last time we talk about these little worms. In fact, this is a theory that persisted for thousands of years, so we'll be coming back to that shortly. So why did it stick around for so long? Aside from the two regions that we've already spoken about, the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia, we are still talking about a largely hunter-gatherer society. But with all that hunting and gathering, when did they find time to squeeze in a dentist appointment? Well, our hardy ancestors actually had a bit of a secret weapon, which was their diet. They consumed naturally antibacterial plants as a part of their everyday meals, a kind of primitive tooth-friendly superfood. So what changed? Why did we need dental care so much more now than back then? It was the Neolithic agricultural revolution, a time where we traded our spears for sickles and started to set up small farming communities. Sure, populations grew, society rose up, but this always comes with consequences. The change in our diet introduced the villain of this story, sugar. While it's the sworn enemy of teeth, it's the not-so-secret crush of our taste buds. But why is sugar so bad for you? The answer? Bacteria. If you've eaten food before, and if you're watching this video, I assume that you have, you'll know that food likes to stick around in your mouth after eating, especially starchy, carby breads and grains. The bacteria in our mouth likes to eat this leftover food. The byproduct waste of this process turns into an acid. These acids then attack the tooth enamel, weakening it over time and eventually causing tooth decay. And sugar is what this bacteria loves the most. So, how did we get around this back then? I mean, we literally thought that worms were eating our teeth for thousands of years. Let's go to Egypt. These guys were actually the first to use painkillers in their dental procedures, like opium, which is a great sign, except they treated abscesses with a poisonous fruit called Citrullus colocynthus. Archaeological finds, including papyrus texts dating back to 2000 to 1200 BCE, include remedies such as using gold wires to hold teeth together, as well as various mouthwashes. They even had a special designation for dentists. One official, called Hesi Ra, had a title loosely translated as one of the great ivory cutters, or one of the great dentists. We still have quite a way to go though, as evidenced by this Egyptian medical masterpiece, which is, and I quote, "a soak in water in which the phallus has been washed in." The Chinese in 2000 BCE weren't much better than this. Actually, some ancient Chinese medical experts believed that tooth diseases actually came from having too much sex. Damn, I always wondered why I had such good teeth. To cure certain mouth diseases, you'd need to crush up some garlic, horseradish, and mix it with human milk, and snort that concoction up the opposite nostril to where the pain was in your mouth, because that makes sense. But if that didn't work, and let's be real, why would it? They brought out the big guns. Arsenic, a treatment equivalent to dropping a nuclear bomb on an ant colony. It killed the nerves, the tissue, and probably the patient too. But when the tooth had to be taken out in the year 1000 BCE, assuming you had the money, you could now have them replaced. The Etruscans, the unsung heroes of the ancient dentistry world, would skillfully use gold wires to keep these teeth replacements into place. They usually used animal teeth, like those from a baby ox, as a basic prosthetic. Otherwise, they would just use leftover human teeth, which I wonder where they got those from. I'm not gonna lie, I actually love the recycling of teeth. Though the Etruscans were particularly practical about dentistry, it was really the Greeks that made it sophisticated. Losing teeth was unseemly to a society as sophisticated as the Greeks. So enter Hippocrates, the Michael Jordan of ancient Greek medicine. His interest in teeth went way beyond a scholarly curiosity. He devised lots of practical treatments, such as wiring a jaw together to help it heal. Losing teeth was unseemly for the Greeks, Hippocrates much preferring to leave it as a last resort until the tooth could be extracted by hand. And by hand, I mean by finger. Fingers! Imagine how bad things had to be for you to be able to pull your teeth out with your fingers. So a practice was developed of just filling the holes in your teeth with medicine-soaked linen, but I'm certain there were plenty of people who just said, just take the frickin' tooth out. However, Aristotle, another prominent Greek physician, had different ideas. Mentioning Hippocrates in his writings, Aristotle actually recommends pulling out the teeth when necessary. He even writes about using forceps for the first time. While these two made huge advances in the science of medicine and dental work specifically, they both actually did believe that men had more teeth than women, which, is reasonably verifiable because you can just count them. But our journey finding out the history of our pearly whites is going to take us to Rome, and boy, there is some weird shit here. Now, since Rome was such a high point of civilization at the time, they really valued having super white teeth. So a mouthwash of young boys' urine was commonly used to ward off infection and whiten those pearly whites. Even better if it's the first pee of the day. Don't even bother leaving me a comment asking why it was best as a young boy or first thing in the morning, because I do not want that in my search history. Unfortunately, they were right, which I know doesn't make it any less disgusting, but urine is rich in ammonia, which is actually what we use in modern cleaning products today. I bet if you're looking on the internet, I'm sure you're going to find some people who still do this. I don't recommend it though. Fortunately, not all dental practices in Rome were actually this weird. Cornelius Celsus, what a name by the way, was a renowned Roman encyclopedist, physician, and philosopher. He dedicated a lot of his time to the study of oral diseases and made some pretty big strides. He pioneered plenty of dental tools, such as scalers, which were made to reduce tartar buildup on the teeth. Celsus prescribed vinegar, unripe pears, and apples for toothaches, and if those didn't work, he would just cauterize the area with a hot iron. And still, if that didn't work, they would prescribe the good old arsenic. Remember how I said we'd be back to the toothworm? Around 41 AD, a man named Scribonius Largus, which, again, by the way, what a cool name. That's like naming me Michaelis Clarkius. How much better would that be? Sorry. Anyway, he wrote about a treatment for toothworms, those pesky critters from thousands of years ago. And it's remarkably similar to what we've already seen. And again, that just smoked them out, this time by using the seeds of the henbane plant and fully inhaling the fume. Although it turns out that this was actually just a narcotic, so it's no wonder that the toothworm theory lasted so long, because I think it was just an excuse to get high. And who knows how much henbane these guys were actually smoking. Another historian and encyclopedist called Pliny the Elder actually used to prescribe stiffening up a tooth with tying a frog to the side of your face. Toothaches also could be cured by eating mice twice per month. Now, outside of kids' pee and mouse munching, dental science did actually develop a little bit in Rome, and that's all thanks to a man named Galen from Pergamon. Galen made significant contributions to the understanding of oral pain. He categorized it into two types, one from the nerves of the teeth and the other one from the gums. But again, let's not get carried away. He also prescribed rabbit brain paste as a way of helping with toothaches. Well, I suppose you win some, you lose some. The real magic ants in dentistry, though, actually came in the golden age of Islam. I gotta say, after all my research into this topic, I have to say, finally some real fucking science. One genius, Abu Bakr al-Razi, actually came up with a cement filling. Then there was al-Zahrawi, the ultimate middle-aged surgeon, who came up with many dental tools and practices that we still use today. And all of this without any rabbit brains and piss gargles. Clearly you can tell I'm still not over the whole kid pee thing. Well, while science can move forward, it can also move backwards. Let's go to England in the 15th century. Imagine, if you will, a time where you would go to your barber not just for a nice sick fade, but also to get your teeth pulled out. Like what? Can you imagine going to your barber and being like, yes, old chap, it'll be a moustache and a molar today, please. Yes, that's right, I suppose. The Middle Ages were a pretty wild time for dental care. Actual physicians at the time were pretty reluctant to get involved in oral care simply because of the high chance of a mishap. According to one source from the 1500s, Swiss professor of medicine Theodor Zwinger actually advised physicians against performing extractions. He said the procedure was best left to barbers and charlatans, as the operation was usually fraught with unpleasant accidents such as broken jaws, lacerated gums, and serious hemorrhaging. And because of this, people very rarely sought out dental treatment unless it was an absolute last resort. This is where we talk about tooth drawers. Tooth drawers took center stage at this time. They would set up at markets and fairs. More showmen than surgeons, their extravagant procedures were meant to entertain a crowd more than anything else. Without modern equipment or anesthetic, these procedures were agonizing, which is probably why so many people came down to watch them. But what about the aesthetics of missing teeth? Well, don't worry, they made dentures out of cows and leftover human teeth as well, giving you that nice, bright, pearly smile. The potions and remedies from this time hadn't really changed much in the sense that they were still bloody weird. Things like gastric juices from pigs, aloe, and honey were used to treat dental diseases. And of course, we still smoked out our teeth worms with a narcotic. But hey, at least medieval people did actually care about their dental hygiene. They regularly scrubbed their teeth with a rough linen and also used pastes and powders for whitening. They'd also rinse their mouth out with vinegar and wine, kind of like a medieval mouthwash. Their diet, rich in veggies and dairies, was actually super tooth friendly. Sugar, today's arch enemy of dental health, was actually completely out of reach of the average person. It was way too expensive. It wasn't until sugar came abundant from the tropics that this really became an issue. Fortunately, in the 15th century, a French physician named Guy de Chauliac, which I definitely pronounced wrong, invented the tool called the pelican. And even just one century later, the first ever book on just dental practices was written in France. Progress. So next time that you want to complain about going to the dentist, just remember it could be a lot worse. You could be in a barber's chair in front of a crowd of people and have someone with very dubious credentials in your mouth. So from the clever, if not downright weird practices of ancient dentistry all the way up to medieval tooth drawers, we've come quite a long way. Modern dentistry actually did start to develop in Europe in the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. But before that, things used to be quite a bit different. So brush, floss, make sure you go see your dentist regularly, and just be thankful that you aren't tying a frog to the side of your face or gargling pee. So that video is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching if you did make it this far. I really appreciate it if you just left me a comment letting me know that you made it this far, and also maybe providing me with a bit of feedback. I am quite new to this, and I am really enjoying it. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you in the next one.